Today's message from Reverend Christian Sorensen was recorded on Easter, March 27th, 2016, and it's titled Celebrating New Life. Come visit us at www.seasidecenter.org or join us in Encinitas, California sometime, where great music, a spirited message, and a joyful, loving community always await you.
Feel the joy, feel the peace, and the comfort of home, 'cause all are welcome here. Yes, all are welcome here.
Truly a joy, and what a joy it is to be here on a day in which we celebrate. My goodness, today is about celebrating new life, but I want you to know it is an old story, older than most people understand. It goes back to the very beginning of recorded history in summer in Mesopotamia, where they had the spring celebration. You can find it 3000 BC, hieroglyphs in the temple of Luxor about Horus, the god's son, who was born of virgin birth on December 25th under the Eastern Star that is being followed by three kings, which is the belt of Orion, which follows the East Star. Child protege. When he died, he was put in a seamless gauze and he rose on the third day. It's like a story that has repeated itself through history. In Greece, you had Dionysus, who knew how to throw a good party. Oh my goodness, he was known for his spring festivals. Then you've got, Persephone, who came up from the underground in the spring and brought life. You got Oeste, which is Easter is named after, who became Ostara, the Saxon goddess of fertility in the spring. Her best buddy was the magic rabbit, kind of rapid reproduction kind of thing there. And her symbol was the egg, which is an obvious fertility. What I want us to get is that this is an ancient story that doesn't belong to just one culture. It doesn't belong to just one generation, but it is something that has a truth to it that has woven itself from the beginning of recorded history, that there is a time to rise up. There's a time to come out of the darkness. In this spring equinox, it is when all of a sudden there is more sunlight than darkness. It is a magical time that we get to pause in the busyness of our life and recognize there's something to celebrate. And really, that is the whole point this morning that I want us to get, is that we've got to recognize that which we are, that spirit. Recognize the Christ. Recognize that something that is the truth of our being that is seeking to express itself. And no matter how covered or how entombed it has been, it is time to roll away the stone, break through the seed, and come forth in a new way and to celebrate that. James Allen, author of As a Man Thinketh or a Woman Thinketh, he said that the oak tree lives in the acorn. The bird waits in the egg, and our dreams are seedlings to our reality. But what you've got to have is the courage to break that shell, that seedling, to roll away the stone. It is time to celebrate that stirring that's in your heart and soul that allows you to step forth in a different kind of way. It takes courage, granted. It takes courage to step up and say, you know what, there's a new thought here. There's a new way here. I'm bringing the infinite into this world of the manifest form in a new kind of way. But thank goodness that people have done it, from Beethoven to the Beatles. It takes courage to step out there. A wonderful American author by the name of Andre Lords, she said, in work and in life, difference is worth celebrating and growing with. It gives us reason to celebrate and to grow as opposed to reason to destroy. In work and in life, that difference gives us reason to celebrate and to grow rather than to be destructive with it. How often have we seen people who see something different and they want to squelch it? They want to make it the same. Life is a tapestry of the color. Look at today, talk about color. My goodness, there is Easter all over the place. There is flowers, there is spring, there is liveness, there is newness, there is that which is worth celebrating. But what happens is we forget to recognize that. We get caught in our delusion that I'm in this world, but we're not of it, but I'm in this world. And I'm caught up in the pain. I'm caught up in the doingness. I'm caught up in making the ends meet, which is what is so exciting about the Easter message or about the spring message, is that it's time to, maybe I got caught up in the heaviness of doing my responsibilities, the seriousness of doing life. But it's time to break free of that delusion, because what happens with the delusion is you go numb. It's like you just get going and going and you're not really aware. It's like this inattentiveness. It's like you're riding a horse and you're saying, "Where's the horse?" But that's what delusion is. It's not a shortage of facts. It's that I have gone to this space and I have become inattentive, which is really what work and schools teach. There's this frenzy, and they teach you how to multitask, which is really cursory to keep you from going to that deeper place of connectedness. And we forget to recognize what is right before us because we are in that delusional zombie state. Have you ever been driving and you get somewhere and you say, "Wow, how'd I get here?" "Oh, yeah." "How about a meal?" You woof down, you talk through it. It's like, "Did I just eat?" "I know I did." "What was it?" That's the delusional state. We are not recognizing what is right before us, and what is right before you is that presence of God that is birthing in a Christ way. You've got to pause long enough. Steve, you want to run this? It's a 90-second clip here.
If you could have dinner with anyone, living or dead, who would you choose?
Kylie Minogue.
Marilyn Monroe.
Oh, God, I wouldn't have a clue.
I know, straight up. Paul Hogan.
Kim Kardashian.
No.
I'd like to have dinner with Justin Bieber.
What? He's not coming to my house.
I'd have Bob Hawke.
Dave Hughes.
Barry Humphries.
Jimi Hendrix.
People who have made a difference in the world, maybe Nelson Mandela at the dinner table.
I don't know what he's going to say. I'm scared.
If you could have dinner with anyone in the world, who would you choose?
Probably our whole family, our whole extended family.
Mum and Dad. Mum and Dad. Does it have to be a celebrity? Could it be family?
We love it. We talk about how school is. We ask Mum and Dad how their day was.
Family.
Yeah, Mum and Dad.
Family. Who would you like to have dinner with? They just want to be with us while they're eating food, which is pretty cool.
They see us above everything. I'm going to get...
Yeah. Bit of a message in it for me.
Yes.
We get caught up and we forget. It's important to recognize the truth of who you are. But what happens is you catch a glimpse and we slip into denial. And our world is feedback for what's going on inside, but you've got to pay attention. You've got to come out of that state of numbness and delusion, and that we've been taught to be inattentive, but you need to be attentive, but people are not attentive because they deny what is actually happening in their life. They'll as if I pretend and I deny that I'm having a problem at work, or that I'm having a problem in my relationship, or with the addiction or the depression. If I deny it hard enough, it just may not exist. Well, that's not the truth. What happens is it gets buried, and that heaviness puts you under a deeper delusion where you're not able to experience the presence of God. You've got to recognize that something's not going to continue in this kind of way. You've got to stop denying that if I fall in love and I have this hot, passionate, intoxicating, infatuated beginning of a relationship, it's not going to stay like that forever. You may have noticed, right? But it's not like dumping and going on and looking for the next one. It's like thinking the stock market's always going to go up. I'm going to deny that it's going to come down, or that the housing market isn't going to burst again. You know what? I've got to be willing to be present in the moment. I have got to be willing to be mindful. I've got to be willing to go to the mountaintop and have this witnessing perspective on my life and not get caught up in the drama and the pain that I tend to sometimes numb myself in, and recognize that there's something more here. There's something that is stirring in my heart and my soul, and life loves me. No matter what it is, I am going going through, this Christ awareness, this higher awareness, this connectedness where there is no otherness, loves you no matter what mistakes, delusions, or denials or pains you have been in. Life is not like a rotten boyfriend or girlfriend who leaves you if you gain a few pounds or chins there, you know? It remembers your birthday. And every day of your life, it is fully present there for you. It is not dependent on what you do. Life is not fickle. It is not narcissistic. And it is not dependent upon the perfect count of your mala beads for life to love you. But we get so stoic. Okay, life may not love me, but I'm okay. Everything's good. You know, anybody goes, everything's good. Smile, everything's good. Very stoic approach. Rosy pants there. Very nice. Sometimes you just need to hoot and holler when life is so good and wild and your insides are excited. Sometimes you just got to get up and get excited and express life. Hey, Jeremy, there's a guy who knows how to express life. We love you. You know, when you feel like expressing yourself, if you are sad, be willing to cry. Get angry, kick something if you need to. Find someone to talk to, your practitioner, your coach, your shaman, your favorite dog, you know, just someone who loves you unconditionally and doesn't sit there in judgment and say, I'm going through a tough time. I realize that, you know what, I've been buried inside this tomb of false beliefs. I haven't been courageous enough, but you know what, there's something stirring. There's an alignment of the earth energy that is going on right now. People and the ancestors have been celebrating this time throughout humanity, and I'm going to allow something inside of me. I'm going to celebrate this difference. I'm going to be courageous enough to bring it forth into this world because you know what? I know that I'm spirit. You know, I heard that. They said, God is in me. You ever hear that one? Like a teacher said, God is in me. But I want to clarify right now. For me, that conjures up like in me, like gas in a car. God is in me. No, God is expressing as you. You got the difference? Yes. You know, it's like a mahogany piano. You know, there's not mahogany in the piano. The mahogany is formed as the piano, and it is a mahogany piano. You know, unless there's a chunk in the strings or something, but it's not in there. It's like having a pure gold fountain pen. There's not gold in the pen. There's gold as the pen. Now, you may want to have some ink in your pen, right? But that's like two things. There's ink in the pen, like gas in the car. It's inside. There's not God inside of me. That's like I can really contain the infinite. It doesn't work like that. You know, I am of that. I am expressing that. I am that spirit expressing. And so when somebody comes to you for prayer, you got to recognize that this patient that is coming to you is really the Christ expression, the God present. It has just been covered up. It has just been forgotten. And so this is why it is valuable to continually to reconnect with that spirit and to recognize that example of individuals who have walked this world, the messiahs, the avatars, the gurus, who there was no separation. When one saw me, they saw the face of God. There was no separation. There was no otherness. There was nothing inside. It was the expression as spirit, which is why you hear me say, we got to meditate. You know, we got to, our prayers, so often we're speaking. But if you recognize that you are expressing a spirit, then you got to listen. See, our prayers so often are with our tongues. They need to be with our heart, with our ears, with the hearing and the sense, and realize that God's not in me. God's not in my body. God's not in my life. God's not in my thoughts. God is expressing as me. God as my thoughts. God as my consciousness. God as my life. God as this thing that is walking through this world. It's not in me, it's expressing as me. And in that meditation, what happens is all of a sudden your mind, your awareness has this higher elevated mountaintop kind of view where the windows open up and the breezes of the divine bring with it a fresh way of seeing, a new way of being, a new way to walk into this world with a courage and a conviction that you can stand before the masses and bring a new thought to humanity that is stuck in a perception of delusion that is no longer serving them. It takes courage to do that. That is what you have been charged to do as a Christ expression, to celebrate this new life and this new thought. William James said, if we could cleanse the doors, we would see life as it is, infinite. Infinite. That doesn't mean you're stuck. But you got to get rid of the stress, the anxiety. I mean, that's one of the reasons I love Easter. There cannot be stress when there's chocolate. It just doesn't work that way. But you got to be willing to get out of your denial and know that there's presence of God here. You know, denial, I heard shared, it's like the guy who was driving down the highway and he heard this traffic alert on the radio. It says, anybody heading north on Highway 93, be aware there's a car going in the wrong direction. And as he looked out his window, he muttered, he said, there's not just one car going in the wrong direction, there's hundreds. You got to be willing to get out of your stuck spot. You got to be willing to get out of your denial. You got to be willing to push the stone away from that which has entombed you and recognize that there is a presence of God that wants to grace your world, that wants to grace your life. That grace, that blessing, that spirit that comes upon this moment has been talked about from the beginning of the time. It is the spring season. It is the aliveness. It is the new life. It is not something that is new or based on one story. Grace, it's a key. I love grace. I want to share it with you from my new book. As I shared with you last week, I can't sell it to you yet because we're getting a publisher, and I signed with an agent this week. So what I did do is I got a bunch of them, and we're giving away for my class on Tuesday nights. I'd love to have you be part of my class on living from the mountaintop, be the mystic you want to be. We're using my book. You can't buy it otherwise. But what you can do, I'm going to do at the end of the service, my favorite chapter from this book is chapter 8 on grace. I'm going to give it to you at the end of the service. I'll give you the number to text. You can go ahead, and I'll send you the whole chapter. But I want to read to you right now a piece on the mystical grace. Within this state of grace, you're seized by a glorious power and thrust into a radiant bewilderment. The expanded knowing of the unknowable brings a torment and an elation. It's like knowing the joy and the beauty of youth and not being able to return to it. You know that you're eternal, yet you're able to experience the immanence. Yet, when you awake to grace, there is a heightened perspective of the eternal verities, revealing a masterpiece unfamiliar to you. And in becoming aware of the potential of this holographic image, you sense the lure to merge with it. And as it fans out its charm, dimensionality, you'll skip straight through the existence of the second and third dimensional worlds to direct experience of the fourth. Court the beloved and see the grace everywhere. What you admire, you become. And in this awakened state, you know the divine secrets. So get back to your mountaintop and listen to your observer who is not influenced by the physical phenomenon. That's grace. When you cleanse the windows, you begin to see infinity. When you roll away the stone and let the fresh breath of God in, you begin to find a power and a courage and a conviction and assurance that what you got is okay. And you step forth. And I got to tell you, in your life, things happen. And I like to say, everybody likes to say it's nothing new to me. What went on, it went on. What is, it is. What is what is. I mean, that's just the way it happened. Now, what I like to say is you glean what you can from that. What took place, what is, it is. So you glean what you can, you learn from that, you grow from that, and you forgive it. You let it go, you surrender it, and you move on. It's that simple. But don't I have to go to my therapist or some kind of behavioral scientist or psychologist to help? No. But they told me, I'm in this anger. My relationship, my marriage busted. I'm going to be angry for 9 months. Really? 9 months? I'd fire that therapist right there. It's like you gotta love that person. I mean, you're going to be in anger for 9 months. It's going to move through you. Gotta love that jerk, because I'll tell you what, they're probably out having a good time anyway. And you're the one who's in anger because that's moving through you. You need the love to move through you. You need to celebrate the new life, the new freedom, the new consciousness, the new thought. That's what the spring is about. It is about a birth into a new way of being. You can wait another 12 months or you can do it now. It's really that simple. Say you're walking along and you find this rhinestone. Well, actually, it's not a rhinestone. It's a beautiful, precious diamond. But you think it's a rhinestone. It's a rhinestone to you. Yeah. But where really is the rhinestone? It's a diamond. But you believe it's a rhinestone. So you take it to a jeweler, and the jeweler says, oh, Christian, man, you got this diamond. It's priceless. And all of a sudden it's like, yeah, man, that rhinestone's gone. But where'd the rhinestone go? Don't you get, there was never a rhinestone? There never was a rhinestone. It was always a precious diamond. That's what you are. I don't care how messed up your life may have been, has been, or is. You are a precious diamond. You are a divine expression. And no matter how many rhinestones you may think are weighing you down, you don't need to pray to get rid of the rhinestone because there is none. There is no bad. There's spirit that is seeking to be recognized, which is what this whole morning is about. It is about recognizing that spirit, sharing that spirit in this world in which you walk, because you get to bring to this world that which is needed. You get to bring that diamond. Remember, it said, is in this world, but not of that world? Some of you, okay. Well, there's this saying about a master teacher that he's in this world, but he's not of it, which is really the same about you. You're in this world, but not of it. Which means that you're walking in this world, and when things are going on, like the attack is in Brussels, and I gave you a prayer and a statement I was thinking about. But I want you to recognize that you do not need to be in the world of anger, of fear, of resentment, of attack, of revenge, because you're not of this world. You are the one who gets to bring the light. You are the one who gets to bring a sense of understanding and the Christ consciousness to a world that is filled with the fear and the horror of the atrocities that went on. You got that? What that means, not being of this world. You're not of the anger. You're not of the resentment. You're of the light. You're of the divine. And that is what this world needs more than ever, is the generosity and the courageousness of you coming out of the delusions that it is not me, I don't have anything to give. But remember, it's not you. You are expressing as God. And all you need to do is recognize what is in that entelechy of your being. The oak tree in the oak, the bird in the egg. There was a story of the Comanche Nation, and they were going through a horrific drought. People were dying, no water, no crops, and probably California. And so the elders, they gathered around and they prayed and they danced. Nothing happened, so they prayed and they danced. And there was this one little girl sitting to the side, holding tightly to her doll, and her name was She Who Sits Alone. And She Who Sits Alone was holding tight to her little doll, which was her second self. It was her alter ego. It had warrior clothing on. It had a bone belt, beaded leg gear. It had a blue jay feather in its hair. And she sat there as the elders couldn't figure out what to do, so they decided to go to the mountaintop and talk to the Great Spirit. And they said, Great Spirit, what do we do here? How have we let you down? Why are you angry with us? What is it that we can do? And they were there for several days, and as they came back, the clan gathered. And they said what they got is the Great Spirit is upset because all we have been doing for years and years is taking our whatever it is we wanted from the earth, and we haven't returned. And what the Great Spirit said is that we must sacrifice. We must give our most prized possession to the fire and take the ashes from the fire and spread it to the four winds. So they went into their teepee to find their treasured possession. And one thought, it must not be the bow that God wants from me, who's this great archer. Another said, my sacred blankets, God must not want that from me. I'm a mom. God must not want my herbs, said the shaman, the medicine man. And so it went on like that. People found reasons not to give their treasure. And there was little She Who Sits Alone. She took her doll, held it tight to her, and whispered into her ear, I know what the Great Spirit wants. wants you. And so that night when everybody went to sleep, she who sits alone got up. She grabbed her doll, took a stick of light from the fire. She went up to the mountaintop and stoked the fire and got the fire burning, and she held her doll, and she just held it close, and she remembered how her mom and dad gave it to her before she died. She remembered her grandparents and her friends who had died in the drought and the lack of food. With tears pouring down her eyes, she threw her beloved doll into the fire, and it blazed in glory, and when it went out and the ashes cooled, she who sits alone picked up the ashes and spread it to the four winds. She was fatigued and she went to sleep. And she slept until the morning rays kissed her awake. And as she awoke, she got up and she looked into the fire pit, and she saw the feather of a blue jay sitting in there. And as she bent over to look at it closer, she felt the first drops of rain upon her cheeks. And when she returned to her clan, they no longer called her she who sits alone, but gave her a new name, she who loved her people. That is a story about you when you're willing to share your most prized and treasured gift. Because those that come to you have forgotten. They may think they're a patient or a client, but you are the one who gets to remember that they are the Christ, they are the divine, they are the divinity. That is you bringing a new thought and celebrating a new life in the midst of right where you are. Because we want to know so much, tell me what's going to be like, what's going to happen if I do that. The master teachers tell us, now. There was an emperor. I'm going to share these Zen stories in my class on Tuesday nights. I'm going to have you blog during the week on what it means. I'm going to send it to you. But here's a Zen story of an emperor who asked his master teacher, Gordu. He said, Gordu, what happens to an enlightened master after they die? He said, how should I know? He said, well, because you're the master teacher. But I'm not a dead one, he said. We want to know so much more, but what I want us to know is right here, right now, that new life is looking to blossom. That dream is willing to break the seedling so it can become your reality. This spirit, this season, it is something to celebrate your difference, your aliveness, your uniqueness. And just because others may not be sharing their love doesn't mean it needs to be denied for you to share it. You have been called into a world for a time such as this, and that is to share your uniqueness, your difference, your prized and cherished possession. And what will happen is you will transform this world, and you will be known as the one who loved the people. God bless you as we do this together.
a welcome here. Behold the love, behold the light in your mind, in your heart, in your soul. In your mind, in your heart, in your soul. In your mind, in your heart, in your soul. And all your searchings brought you to this place. You cry for mercy and you long for grace. Feel the love, feel the light. Won't you come in from the cold? 'Cause all are welcome here. Feel the joy, feel the peace, and the comfort of home. 'Cause all are welcome here. Yes, all are welcome here. Here.
All Are Welcome Here, from the album Path of Light, was co-written by Peggy Lebo and Reverend Christian Sorensen. It's available at www.peggylebo.com.